A comedian made racist remarks at a Trump rally. Tourists are taking cruises through melting Arctic ice. And scientists found a man who fell down a well 800 years ago. That's some of what we'll get to on the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Monday, October 28th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Number 1. Speakers used racist insults at Donald Trump's rally in New York. The former president's rally in Madison Square Garden last night was meant to showcase his broad-based support ahead of next week's election. But several opening speakers lobbed sexist, racist, and otherwise demeaning insults. That included comedian Tony Hinchcliffe. He sparked outrage with a joke about Puerto Rico, calling it a, quote, floating island of garbage. The line drew a mixed reaction from the crowd.
Okay, all right, okay, we're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup.
New York has the largest number of Puerto Ricans outside of Puerto Rico itself. And Pennsylvania is home to one of the largest populations of Puerto Ricans in the country. It's also perhaps the most critical swing state in this election. Trump's campaign issued a statement distancing itself from the comment. And just moments after Hinchcliffe's joke, the recording artist Bad Bunny offered his support for Kamala Harris's candidacy for president. He's one of the biggest superstars in the world, and he's Puerto Rican. He shared a video to his 45.6 million Instagram followers about Harris's plans for Puerto Rico. Number 2. Kamala Harris has stepped up her attacks on Trump's age and competence. Before President Joe Biden withdrew from the presidential race this summer, he faced endless attacks from Trump and his supporters over his age and cognitive ability. And recently, Harris has adopted some strikingly similar tactics. If Trump wins the election next month, he would be the oldest person ever elected president in the U.S. On social media, her campaign mocked Trump for abruptly ending a recent town hall to sway and dance to his playlist for 39 minutes. She mocked him for declaring himself the father of IVF to an all-female audience. And she's repeatedly attacked his speeches as boring and rambling. Here she is speaking at a rally in Atlanta on October 19th.
And now, he's ducking debates and canceling interviews because of exhaustion. And when he does answer a question or speak at a rally, have you noticed he tends to go off script and ramble?
This is all part of Harris's attempt to portray the 78-year-old Trump not only as old, but also as unstable and unhinged. She has argued that his thirst for control would endanger both democracy and the safety of the American people. Number 3. Elon Musk denied having worked illegally in the United States. On Saturday, the Post reported that Musk lacked the legal status to build the startup that made him a millionaire in the 1990s. President Biden seized on the report. Musk has allied himself with Trump ahead of the election, and he has repeatedly criticized Biden's approach to immigration. Early yesterday morning, Musk denied having worked illegally. He said his student visa had transitioned into one which allows temporary employment. But he didn't say when that happened, and 6 former business associates and shareholders said Musk claimed he was on a student visa around the time his status became a concern for the company. If you want to learn more about this story, check out the latest episode of The Campaign Moment. The episode closely examines Musk's political influence. Find The Campaign Moment wherever you listen to podcasts. Number 4. Israel hit military targets in Iran on Saturday. Iran and Israel have long fought a shadow war in the Middle East, hitting each other with cyber attacks, targeted killings, and proxy groups. Those attacks have increased since the war in Gaza began last year. But since April, both countries have also launched direct strikes on each other's territory. Earlier this month, Iran launched a barrage of missiles at Israel. And early on Saturday, Israel launched its reprisal attack. It said it hit 20 military sites in Iran targeting missile capabilities. Tehran was quick to downplay the damage inflicted by the Israeli strikes, although officials said at least 4 soldiers were killed. Climate change is melting Arctic ice and fueling a tourism boom. That's our 5th story. The Arctic is warming faster than almost anywhere else on the planet. That poses an existential threat to the icy landscapes and species that call the Arctic home. But for some tourism businesses, it also poses an opportunity. Melted ice means boats can now travel to previously unreachable places, and tourists are paying big money to visit the world's farthest reaches. Since 2016, the number of cruise trips departing from Svalbard in Norway has doubled. But there's an ironic twist which some travelers acknowledge. Long-distance tourism and cruise ships are contributing to climate change. So their travel is helping melt the very attractions that people are hoping to visit in the Arctic. Number 6. Vaccines could help reduce the need for antibiotics. Antimicrobial resistance is a threat to human lives. It's what happens when pathogens, fungi, bacteria, and viruses stop responding to medications, like antibiotics. The World Health Organization says up to 5 million deaths in 2019 could be attributed to this phenomenon. But a recent WHO report suggested a partial solution. It found that vaccines against just 23 pathogens could reduce the number of antibiotics needed by 22% globally per year. The report recommended expanding vaccines against pneumonia, typhoid, norovirus, RSV, and more. And at number 7, a medieval saga told of a man thrown in a well, and now he may have been found. An old Norse tale made a passing mention of a dead man who was tossed into a drinking well after a raid on a castle in Norway. He's just an aside in the 182-verse story. In the text, the poor guy doesn't even get a name. But scientists now believe they've found him. Last week, a paper reported the results of radiocarbon dating, analysis of ancient DNA, and a detailed study of a skeleton discovered decades ago in a well in Norway. The researchers make the case that this man is the same person briefly mentioned in the old saga. The analysis of the skeleton suggests he died around the time of the castle invasion in 1197. The study also transforms him from a plot device into a person. He's not just a body thrown into a water supply to poison it. He was also 30 to 40 years old, blue-eyed and fair-skinned, with light brown or blonde hair. Sounds like a catch. You can find out more about him in our newsletter today. Just follow the link in our show notes. That's the show for today. Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, a great way to support our work is through a subscription to The Washington Post. Your subscription fuels our newsroom's reporting on the election, climate change, gun violence, the opioid epidemic, and much more. Our reporters work in the middle of war zones and hurricanes, and all of this work would come to a grinding halt without subscribers. If that's convinced you, subscribe to the Post by going to washingtonpost.com/subscribe. Right now, you can get an all-access digital subscription for just $40 for the first year. And tell your friends to sign up or stick with us, too. Don't toss good journalism down a medieval well. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.